So it is no secret that life has become very expensive in the last few years.
$900 dues!
Inflation is out of control, wages are not keeping up, and it seems like every time you leave the house, you manage to spend at least $100. At least I do. And with all of that happening, it can be very easy to feel like you've fallen behind financially. But I'm here to tell you, or actually prove to you, that you may not actually be doing half as bad as you think you are. In this video, we're about to unpack 8 signs you might actually be doing a lot better financially than you think you are. Let's jump into it. The very first sign that you're probably doing a lot better than you think you are is that you're right here, right now, watching this video. And I don't say that at all to toot my own horn. In fact, this isn't about me, this is about you. If you're the type of person who has made the effort all on their own to seek out financial content, whether that's in the form of my videos or other people's videos or blogs or subreddits, whatever resources you can find, if you've made the effort all on your own to try to learn more, to try to improve your circumstances, you're doing so much better than you think you are just from that alone. I've always believed that the biggest reason that people make bad money choices is just a lack of financial literacy. Like they just don't understand the things that they're signing up for. They don't understand the long-term ramifications of things like compounding interest and credit card debt.
Okay, here's how your lease breaks down. This is your down payment, then here's your monthly, and there's your weekly.
And that's it, right?
Yep. Oh, then after your final monthly payment, there's the routine CBP or crippling balloon payment.
But that's not for a while, right?
Right.
Sweet.
So just by you showing an interest in personal finance and making an effort to try to learn more, it's a huge green flag and it's a huge sign that you're on the right track. The second sign that you're doing a lot better than you think you are when it comes to your finances is that you follow a budget. And it can be any kind of budget. There are many different types. Maybe you use a cash envelope system, maybe use an Excel sheet or an app on your phone, maybe even just an old scrap of paper. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're tracking your income and your expenses, you know how much money's coming in and you know how much money's going out. And more specifically, you know where that money is all going. You can then audit your own spending, recognize where you need to cut back, and start making better decisions going forward. So many people just don't follow a budget, and I don't really know how they expect to be able to fix their mistakes if they're not even aware of them. I made a video a few months ago going over the budgeting system that I use, which I call the anti-budget. I'll link to that video up top and in the description box down below as well. If you haven't seen it yet, feel free to check it out. But ultimately, how you budget, what system you use, what platform you use, doesn't really matter. Find one that works for you. As long as you're tracking your spending, you're doing a lot better than you probably think you are. You're definitely doing a lot better than the majority of the population, that's for sure.
No, you're not budgeting, dude. You're not budgeting. It's like the most simplistic thing you can do. This is basically max out. You said it.
The third sign that you're probably doing a lot better than you think you are is one that I talk about a lot on this channel because it's one that I myself am very passionate about, and it's that you hate the feeling of overpaying for things. You hate the feeling of getting ripped off. This means that you're really diligent about canceling any streaming services that you don't frequently use. It means that you shop around and compare prices before making any big purchases. It means that you renegotiate things like your insurance very frequently. You check around, you make sure you're paying a fair price and that you're not being overcharged. It means you don't pay more for things than you have to. You don't pay $50 or $75 or $100 a month for your phone bill because you have options like today's video partner, Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service starting from just $15 a month. And because they run on the nation's largest 5G network, your speed, your data, your coverage, everything is the same as you're already used to. It's just a lot cheaper because they don't have physical retail locations. So they keep their costs low and they pass that savings on to you. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, yeah, but like it's a huge hassle to switch over and I can't really be bothered. And I have news for you. Your cell phone company, they want you to think that it's a big deal. They want you to think that it's really complicated and really time consuming, but switching to Mint couldn't be simpler. The entire process, including the activation, can be done fully online and it only takes about 15 minutes. That means just 15 minutes of your time and you can be paying as low as $15 a month for your phone plan. But it gets even better. If you switch over to Mint Mobile between now and January 1st using my special link and sign up for a 3-month plan, they'll give you an additional 3 months of service completely for free. And why would you want to pay more than that if you don't have to? To get started, head over to mintmobile.com/accordingtonicole or click the link in the description box down below. Thank you again to Mint Mobile for partnering with me on today's video. The fourth sign that you're probably doing a lot better than you think you are when it comes to your money and your finances is that you have at least $1,000 in the bank. Ideally a little bit more, but at least $1,000. Here's a really scary statistic. Did you know that 56% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency in cash? That means that if you have $1,000 to your name today, you're doing better than 56% of Americans. That's huge. And yes, realistically, your emergency fund should be more than $1,000. It should be about 3 to 6 months of your expenses. But having at least $1,000 in the bank means A, you're off to a great start, B, you're doing better than half of America, and C, you have at least a little bit of a safety net, at least a little bit of a cushion, so if shit hits the fan, which inevitably it's going to at some point, at least you can breathe a little bit.
So for almost a full decade, you f***ed yourself because you didn't have an emergency fund. He didn't have an emergency fund, so he f***ed himself for a decade.
Yeah.
I think the thing that cripples people's finances the most is not having that $1,000 or not having at least a few $1,000s saved up and put away, because then when an emergency happens, they have no options but to go into debt. And those minimum monthly debt payments add up faster than you think, especially if you wind up having to take on high interest debt. And before you know it, your payments every month are so much you can't afford to save money at all. So if you have at least $1,000 in your bank right now, give yourself a pat on the back because you are in the top 48% of Americans. America, get your shit together. The fifth sign that you're doing a lot better financially than you might think is that you have more than one stream of income. Now, I recognize this isn't going to apply to everybody, but I'm going to put this one on the list as kind of a goal to get to or something to think about. If you work a typical job, if you're an employee at a company, you are putting your entire future in someone else's hands. And no matter how secure you might think you are in your job, you never really know what's going to happen. You never know if you're going to get laid off, or you're going to get fired, or you're going to get sick or injured and be unable to work. And if that happens and your entire income dries up, then what do you do? And if you're self-employed, this is even more so, because no matter how secure you might think you are, no matter how well established your business is, you never know what's going to happen. You never know, again, if you're going to get sick or injured. You never know if you're going to have a slow period at work. And unlike somebody who works a typical job, as a self-employed person, I don't have a set schedule. I don't have hours that I'm going to get paid for no matter what. If I don't have customers, if I don't have work, I have nothing to do, I get no money. Having a secondary source of income, I think, is so important for everybody. I think that no matter who you are, no matter how much money you make, no matter what you do for a living, putting your entire sense of financial security into the hands of somebody else, whether that's your boss or your clients or whoever else it might be, is a huge misstep. Now, I'm not saying that you need to have 2 full-time jobs. In fact, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Actually, yeah, I probably would. There's a couple people I can think of. Anyways, having at least a secondary source of income of some sort, whether that is some gig work, whether that's driving for Uber or DoorDash, whether you have a little side hustle, you have a part-time job that you do on the weekends, maybe you have a little Etsy store, some sort of little passion project, maybe it's even just a little bit of dividends that you get paid from a small amount of investments you have. It doesn't have to be anything significant. Just having something, having a little bit of extra money coming in, trickling in on the side, just in case, is always a good sign. And if you don't have that, I think you should get that. And if you do have that in any way, shape, or form, if you have any sort of side hustle or business or secondary source of income, you are doing a lot better than you think you are. The sixth thing we're going to talk about is probably one of the most important, and it's that you are self-assured and confident in the decisions you're making, meaning you are making the decisions that you know are best for you, and you don't really give a damn what anybody else thinks about it. You are not making purchases to try to impress other people. You're not trying to keep up with anybody else. You know what you can afford, you know what is comfortable to you, and you make the decisions that you know serve you the best.
Oh God, it's so unnecessary.
Oh, you have excellent taste.
Here's something to think about. Which of these two people do you think are doing better financially? The person who earns $200,000 a year and spends $200,000 a year, or the person who earns $50,000 a year and only spends $30,000? I think that people often confuse wealth with income, and they are not at all the same thing. Of course, having a high income is nice, but if you're spending all the money you make, then no matter how high your income is, it's never really going to help you get ahead. It's less about how much money you make and more about how much money you save. And so if you're making purchases that are within your range of affordability and that are in line with your savings goals, and you're not falling victim to the trap of lifestyle inflation, and you don't feel the need to try to impress other people or to live beyond your means, you're doing great. Drive your crappy car with pride, knowing that you are self-assured and you don't care to impress somebody at a stoplight.
You know, the emissions from a vehicle like yours causes irreparable damage to the ozone. I drive a hybrid. It's much better for the environment. Thanks!
Go home and cook your own meals, knowing that you probably make food that is better and healthier and definitely a lot cheaper than a restaurant could ever feed you. If your friends invite you to join them to something that you simply can't afford, have the confidence to say that you can't afford it, and if they're really your friends, they're going to understand anyways. If you can make decisions for yourself with confidence and feel no shame, you're doing great. Another sign that you're probably not doing too badly is that you have financial regrets. I know how backwards that might sound, but if you can look around your home right now and you can think of a few things, whether they're big or small, things that you have bought that you regret buying that you wish you could go back and not buy, that's a really good sign, because regret is a sign of growth. If you can look at something and think, you know what, I probably shouldn't have spent the money on that, or oh, you know what, that wasn't a good use of my funds, that's a really good sign, because it means that there's a better chance that going forward, you're going to think more critically about the decisions you make. You're going to think about those things that you regret buying and make an effort not to repeat those mistakes. We all make mistakes from time to time. We all make bad judgment calls and bad purchases. I know myself, I have made my fair share of them, to say the least. But if you can recognize them as what they are, rather than just trying to justify them to yourself, I think it's a huge sign of maturity, and I think that maturity and financial responsibility go hand in hand. And last, but certainly not least, the eighth sign that you're probably doing a lot better than you might think you are financially speaking is that you have goals in mind, and more specifically, you have actual plans to execute those goals. Again, I've talked about this in other videos, but I think that vague goals are kind of pointless, to say the least. A goal without a plan is just kind of a pipe dream at best. People tend to make goals that are so vague they have absolutely no chance in achieving them because they're not really goals, they're ideas at best. People say things like, oh yeah, I want to make better choices financially, I want to make more money, I want to start a business, I want to get out of debt. All those things are lovely, but my question is, how are you going to do them? Saying that you want to get out of debt is great. What's your plan? Your plan might be something like, well, I'm going to ask for a raise at work, I'm going to take on a second part-time job, I'm going to cancel this service and reduce this bill and stop buying this thing, which is going to let me save X amount of money every month. I'm going to take that money, I'm going to throw it at this debt, and it's going to take me this many months to pay it off. And then next I'm going to tackle this other debt. It's going to take me this amount of months to pay it off. Like, you have to have a fully fleshed out plan. If you have a detailed plan, then it means your success is basically a guarantee as long as you just stick to that plan, and it means that you are doing so much better than you probably think you are, and probably so much better than most people around you. Not that it's a competition, but you're probably doing pretty well actually. If you decided to click on this video today, there's a pretty good chance that you're not really where you wish you were when it comes to your personal finances, and that's okay. Hopefully this video gave you a little bit of motivation and helped you to realize that you're not actually doing half as bad as you think you are. But if that's not the case, stay tuned because I will have a follow-up to this video coming out in the next few weeks where basically if you've already fucked up your finances, I'm going to help you learn to unfuck them. So we'll get you there, just chill. If any of the points that I mentioned in this video resonated with you in particular or helped you to look at things a different way, drop me a comment down below and let me know which one. Or if there's another sign that you've recognized in yourself or in someone else that maybe you're actually not doing half as bad as you might think, let me know what that is in the comments as well. If you enjoyed this video at all, please go ahead and hit that like button. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You can follow me on Instagram. You can check me out on Patreon for additional content. I will put links to everything in the description box down below. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care and stay tuned for the follow-up video. I'll see you next week.